3 questions. How about that?
Wonderful.
Can you bring me the mic?
Yes, I will bring you the mic. 3 questions.
Hello. Firstly, I want to appreciate all 3 of you, all 3 of you for kind of opening a really critical discussion. Zaki, I have a few, I don't want to say questions, but a few comments about your critique on media. And what I want to, I think everybody in this room, I'm more of a solutions person, not as so much of a problems. I don't like to focus too much on problems. So what I really want to, I think everybody wants to ask this question, is you're talking about the discourse of media and the idea of Western imperialism and Western elitism that's propelling propelling blasphemous media. But I really encourage you to challenge yourself to ask the question, and also as well people on the floor, that what is really perpetuating blasphemous media? Is it the Western elitist viewpoint of Muslim countries and Pakistan in general, or is blasphemous media taking advantage of the disparities in a country? If you look at blasphemous media, they're not focused on Western countries, they're focused on primarily Muslim countries that are economically unstable. So if you look at it from that viewpoint, it becomes a very solvable issue. Pakistan is a disparate population. 60% of its population is rural. Over 30% of the GDP goes to defense. It's not poor. It's not a poor country, but you have an incredible amount of brain drain in the country. The intellectual capacity is not there anymore. Of course, it becomes a very opportunistic country to have blasphemous media. So when we focus on the problem, we focus on the West. And we focus on trying to fix the West, but I really encourage people to think about what's happening in their country. And even though I wasn't born in Pakistan, I consider myself very much Pakistani, and I really encourage people to think about what's happening there. How much of your population is poor? When blasphemous media is out there, where is it expressed? It's not expressed in the elite population. It is expressed in the lower socioeconomic class. It's expressed through class differences, through socioeconomic differences, and through religion. Often the problem is not religion itself, it's the disparities that are expressed in the population. So I really encourage people to look away from the blasphemy side of it and ask yourself, when you're reading a news article, what's really going on here and why? So.
Thank you, Amina. Who is going to answer?
Well, thank you so much for your comments. I actually agree with you. And I didn't think that the story that I was presenting was a critique really of Western media or either way. It's actually trying to get people to think, the divide is supposed to kind of be, to show how the local dynamics in Pakistan, even the ones that are, say, pro-Islamist or pro-jihadi, are just as influenced by what gets attention in the West as the other side. So, there's this blasphemy market that exists that both sides are exploiting, whether it's the elites or the jihadis. It's like a competition in which, who can do that more. So I actually agree with you. The other part, though, that I would say about the brain drain is that that's one thing. I mean, I don't disagree with you, but I think there's 2 parts of that question. And one is that Pakistan, since I would say the 80s especially, has been a labor export country. We export labor. We create, whether it's low-skilled labor that goes to the Gulf or high-skilled labor that goes to Western countries. So, but that is not part of our identity in Pakistan. So say a country like the Philippines, which also is a labor exporting country, very much has trade and economic policies that understand that. But in Pakistan, that's really not the concept. They don't see themselves as a labor exporting country, and that creates definite problems in terms of how you're going to retain some talent or not. I mean, one reason it's a labor exporting country is because the elites have a stranglehold, and people don't get jobs; they go abroad. So that's and I guess there was another question here that I'll repeat. It says, if we look into Pakistan today, Pakistani history, we see that until the late 60s, Pakistan was portrayed as a moderate, liberal, and progressive country. In your opinion, where in history did we make a mistake that made Pakistan narrow-minded? I would say, that looking back, I think at history in that way was, I guess would be like, if you had a broken marriage and you look back and you see, okay, where did this relationship fall apart? And it's a difficult thing to do, and it's a subjective question, and I think everybody here would have a different answer of where exactly that happened. But I will say, in terms of just the demographics of the country right now, like I said, we have a youth bulge, and it's been over 10 years since 9/11. We're a labor exporting country. There's a lot of people who can't get jobs because their whole market was to go abroad, whether it's doctors or it's low-skilled laborers. In Saudi Arabia, which is one of the biggest importers of Pakistani labor, reduced by I think it's 40% or something the number of visas that are given to foreign workers following the Arab Spring. Of course, post 9/11, security laws mean that Pakistanis can't leave Pakistan. So you've got a situation where this country is being isolated globally. And so increasingly, they're vulnerable to a discourse that says, who cares about the world? We're gonna just, we're gonna have our own world here, and we're gonna set up a quasi-system, and we hate everything about, global progress, and we just, to the point that even Islam in Pakistan, I've studied Islamic law. Islamic law in Pakistan currently is not anything to do with the rules of Islamic jurisprudence. It's what is most visibly and blatantly anti-Western. So that's what you're dealing with, is that paradigm is so huge. And, to go with what Vijay was saying, I'll also tell you that as an ordinary person, when you're there, you feel incredibly frustrated. I'm from Karachi. It's a city of 18 million people. All the NATO shipments to Afghanistan go through the port of Karachi. That means that every time any of the many political, religious, whatever parties have a strike or a sit-in or something protesting NATO, that city comes to a standstill. That means that people can't go to work, they can't, and this happens on a weekly basis now. And when you have that level of disruption in your life, not to mention all the other problems of any developing country, you don't have water, you don't have electricity, you have to look for a job, your kid is sick, all the other stuff, it's a pressure cooker. That's what it's like. If you go there, you spend 2 days there, you'll see what I'm talking about. It's a pressure cooker because the external influences, the internal problems, and then all the usual problems that come with being a developing country make it precisely that. So if you ask me where it went wrong, I would say, the past post 9/11, Pakistan has seen a very, very rapid devolution for all of these reasons. So, thank you.
There was one friend there who raised his hand.
I bought this comment from Mr. Prashant. Oh, sorry.
He comes before you.
Oh,
That's
sure, go ahead. No problem.
You are going to be the number 4 now. What can be?
Okay.
Thank you very much, and I'm going to ask the question to the Honorable Lady. what you see, as Amna says, that 30% of our GDP in Pakistan is going to the armed forces. So what you see the role of the armed forces in establishing the political map in that region, because that is a very strong community over there which is controlling the whole political system of the region. So what you see and how we can minimize the role of the armed forces in establishing the political map in that region.
Before the question is asked, before we get the answer, maybe you would like to do a little spiritual exercise. Put your hand in your pocket, take out your cell phone, look at it and shut it, or put its voice down. It will be good for your karma, it will be good for all of us.
Thank you for that question, and you're right. I mean, Pakistan is a security state. It's the first priority, and that's now been built into the national identity of Pakistan. And I'll tell you that the way it's sold to Pakistanis, like if you're going to school in Karachi or Lahore or wherever, is that, the national identity is that you're this country and you're being attacked from every side, basically. There's India, it's huge and it's sitting there. Iran doesn't like you too much. And now, so it's this very, it's a very particular mentality. I completely agree with you in terms of the fact that the military, in fact, I wouldn't say it's 30%, it's probably significantly more than that. And not only do they control the budget, they own a lot of Pakistani industry. I don't know how many of you have read the book Military Inc. by Aisha Siddiqa, who is a Pakistani scholar. It lays out exactly how the army controls not just the army, but the land and the industry. So the challenge, of course, with something like that is that you've got a political system that doesn't control the military, so your representation doesn't matter. So there can be thousands of people killed for, say, terror attacks. And people can get mad at the politicians, but the politicians don't control the military. And so, I mean, in terms of security, there's really no connection. And so, I mean, you're absolutely right, is that a lot of the frustration that people feel is because of that lack of representation. In some ways, when the Arab Spring was happening, everyone's asking me, will there be a revolution in Pakistan? But see, that's the problem. It would almost be easier if we had a dictator or some sort of very visible autocratic system that people could get mad at. But what we have instead is like almost democracy. So we have, it's kind of like we have all the trappings of, it's like this food is laid out here, but if you open all of it, there's just hot water. That's not true, by the way. But that's how it is. And so, and I really especially feel this in my capacity in my work with Amnesty, because that's the challenge even of international organizations that are looking at countries like Pakistan. Because, for example, for blasphemy, okay, this is a bad law, but if you look at some issue like women's rights, right? People can point to laws that exist on the books in Pakistan and say, well, you've got this great law that gives you such a great quota, and representation. But that's the problem, is that we have all the trappings, we have all the costumes, people have learned to say the right things when they come on TV, in terms of, the politicians as well as the military generals, but we don't have actual representation. Because the real powerful institutions in Pakistan are not accountable to anybody except themselves.
Vijay Prashant, I really enjoyed your talk, and what you talked about is on a political level, at a higher level. What goes on, went on between America, India, Iran, and all that. And I can tell you the flip side of that one. Despite all that, there was a lot of cooperation between India, Pakistan, and Iran. I'm the witness of that one. I lived in Iran. I went to Iran to work during Shah's, when he was the monarch. Lived there through the revolution of Iran in 1979 and stayed 2 years beyond that one. So I have witnessed what the good times, the people they call in the Shah's time. I witnessed the revolution time. I even witnessed what happened when the mullahs came to Babur. I was living there. I was there, a witness when the 52 Americans were taken hostage. So seeing all that, but I saw the people, I admired them. They are very humble, very honest. I'm a predominantly an accountant. I'm a Hindu living in an Islamic state. I'm not talking about the elite people, even the uneducated people on the street, they never ever let me feel that I'm not welcome there. And that is the greatest thing about that country. And I love Iran, and I love that language.
Vijay Singh, do you want to speak, or we get the last question and then you answer both of these same time? The last question of the evening from Madam.
Vijay, you made my day. Yes, and also I think you're a brilliant writer. Not that you're not a brilliant speaker, but I love the letter to Swami, and I hope you continue to write. And Ms. Zakaria, unfortunately, I too have some tough questions for you. And one of them being that you described two narratives, a powerful one and the other one from a powerful point of view, and the other one who does not have the power. By that, they even have more power because they have nothing to lose. And that equation has really moved me. But I thought, hey, what about social conscience? Where is all of this? What about these very powerful people, rich people, who won't think of harming somebody, causing lots of bloodshed in order to do this benefit from what you so cleverly say blasphemy market? You know, I am appalled by that, but I thought, hey, why not? Success at any price, you know. Also, the other thing that I am concerned about is I'm more concerned about stuff like 26th November in Bombay and other sundry shopping mall bombings and all that, and parliament bombing. And it seems to me that these 120 million youth you describe, it seems to me that because of lack of any opportunity, they might be lured into these things, you know, into suicide bombings and such things. So I think young people like you are the world's only hope. You have to insist that there be some openness and not too much. You know, I mean, look at India. I mean, Vijay did say that Indian economy is good only for some. I don't agree. 600 million strong middle class people, you know. Whereas Ms. Zakaria described this lady who attended art school. How many such families are there in Pakistan? I would like to know. I really would. But at one time, but of course this may be gossip, 20, they said 20. They said such families were only 20 to 22 in Pakistan. And however, what I'm missing here is, why doesn't someone have social conscience? I know I have heard of now Noor Jahan Jahangir. That lady who fights for women. Asma Jahangir. I'm sorry, I thought Jahangir's wife had to be Noor Jahan. Anyway, so anyway, those are my questions or comments, however you might like to interpret them. Thank you.
I mean, I so much agree with you on the question of giving people hope. The lesson that I have learned from not only the Arab Spring, but before that, events in South America. You know, in a month's time, there'll be less than a month, week's time, there'll be an election in Venezuela. I think it's October 7th. The lesson I got from South America, from the Arab Spring, is when people feel hopeful, something positive can come out of it. Now, I agree that in Syria it's a barbaric thing now. Between 20,000 and 30,000 people are dead. But Egypt is a changed society. I mean, what you were saying was correct, is that in some countries there was a visible face. All that did was it concentrated for 15 years. People struggled to remove Mubarak. But once Mubarak was removed, the consciousness of society developed. People understood this is not sufficient. There continue to be demonstrations. Now much more on the ground of labor demonstrations. You know, in Egypt they have the best named union in the world. It's called the Union of Tax Employees. These are not people who work in the tax department. These are government employees. They're paid by our taxes, which I think is actually a better name for government employees. They're tax employees. It's the biggest independent union in Egypt. They are on constant, awareness of how to struggle. If people don't have hope, society will be destroyed. And it's the role of people who have ideals, people like you all in this society, all of us, people who pledge ourselves to give each other hope, that I think provide the space for young people to see different ways forward. South America is a changed place now. I used to report from South America in the 1990s for Frontline magazine, both of us for Frontline, based in Madras. I travel now to Venezuela. I remember going there during the time of Perez, completely despondent society. It's not that under Chavez everything is solved. It's still extremely divided society, extremely rife with social problems. But you walk into some of the slums in the hillside around Caracas, and there is a sense of energy. There are some programs that people want to fight for. People feel hope. And I think in South Asia, unless we bring that kind of energy of hope, not that solutions will be there, not that you have to come there with the best cheap flush toilet or the best heater stove that doesn't create gas. Just having devices doesn't solve people's lives. There is a lot to be said for the spirituality of living, which is not just about material goods. And South Asia right now doesn't have that spiritual commitment to human life. And that is what we have to provide with, I think, platforms like this. That's what makes platforms like this so important. You don't have to raise money for floods. You don't have to provide the best technologies to people in South Asia. What you have to provide is a model for hope, amity, and genuine sense of mutual concern and care. That is our role. Thank you.